The City of Johannesburg recently hosted the 7th Africities Summit in Sandton under the theme Shaping the Future of Africa with the People. The conference unpacked the importance of Africa's local authorities in shaping the future of the continent.
The head of state and government of this continent adopted an African charter on values and principles of decentralization, local governance and local development in June last year in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. And they also decided to create a high council of local authorities within the African Union. So I think local authorities are gaining momentum. Now it's up to them to translate this momentum into the real change in governance, in the improvement of the living condition of the African people, and in voicing the case of Africa on a new path to development, starting from the territories. And the first thing they should be addressing, of course, is the capacity, in particular of youth, to be involved in local governance, the possibility of women to be more in local governance, and also addressing the serious issue of economic and human development in our localities.
Held every 3 years, the Africities Summit intends to be the mouthpiece of the 15,000 African local governments from all the regions of the continent.
I think that the mood internationally is that this is the period for implementation. Most of the international conferences, particularly those of heads of state of the United Nations, have developed what the policy parameters are in terms of the sustainable development goals. This week would be finalizing the agreements on climate change, and the focus really is on implementation.
Surely this took a huge skill of organization. We managed to talk to some people who have traveled from as far as Brazil, European Union. What kind of organization was behind this summit, organizing this summit?
While organizing a summit of this nature is always complex because it has to take into account that you've got ministers represented here, that you've got mayors from not only the African continent but also other continents that have come to form partnerships to look at programs for implementation. You've got United Nations agencies, African agencies such as the African Development Bank represented, UNAIDS is here, UN Habitat, so you've got the UN system as part of the conference. But you've also got a voice for communities. And for us, that has been important to ensure that we are able to give voices to community organizations that are able to participate. So the non-governmental sector is very active at the summit. And all these constituencies are meeting at different points, looking at the issues that are critical to them. And this would range from debates around matters of informal trading. It's an important issue for cities on the African continent. We have a lot of informal trade that happens, informal settlements, habitat issues, and there are platforms for discussions there, and debates which amongst the stakeholders are taking place. So you have Slum Dwellers International talking to practitioners in government, talking to the United Nations system, and all of us are really trying to find solutions to these complex challenges that we confront.
So the City of Johannesburg would be viewed as not necessarily in a traditional African sense, because most people relate to the City of Johannesburg to other developed economies. How relevant are deliberations taking place to your city?
Well, the deliberations are very critical in our city. I mean, the City of Johannesburg attracts 10,000 new inhabitants every month. And some of them live in informal settlements, some of them live in run-down inner city buildings, and we need to continuously deal with issues of migration. There are issues about health and migration. There are the reality is that we live in a city that is now 14% mainly people from sub-Saharan Africa, and they speak different languages. We need to convert the way in which we provide services to ensure that we have French-speaking services particularly in our clinics that are able to provide services to people. So in reality, we are a cosmopolitan city that deals with the difficult challenges that all the cities are dealing with. So many people talk about migration in relation to Europe when they see people getting onto boats and going to the European continent. But in Africa, we get that all the time. We get migration into our cities all the time. And the reality is that we deal with these issues on a daily basis.
What kind of outcome are you looking up to? If you said this summit was a success, what kind of outcomes are you looking at?
For us, it is about programmatic actions that need to be identified. It is taking advantage of the fact that the United Nations system has positioned local government as critical role players in the implementation of the Summit on Financing for Development that took place in Addis Ababa in July this year. The Sustainable Development Goals agreed to at the United Nations General Assembly. And no doubt, as the world is meeting in Paris, there would be a dedicated section that is looking at local authorities. And it is those sort of things that we now want to take and implement, because it is a historic period for those of us who are involved in local government, where the United Nations system is defining us and clarifying specific roles for us in terms of implementation of these important international agreements.
Earlier on, we spoke to the mayor of eThekwini, and he told us about the sister cities his city is friendly to. Are there specific cities that are your sister cities in Africa?
Well, we work with a number of cities, both on the African continent and internationally, but we're working very closely, in particular with the city of Addis Ababa. We're working with Matola in Mozambique. And those are some of the strategic cities that we've identified. We've been in discussions with Lagos about forming a direct partnership and relationship with them. Some of them are the formal sister city relationships, but some of them are about programmatic cooperation between the cities. So we're working with the city of Dakar in West Africa on their issuance of a municipal bond on a programmatic relationship. And we're working with other cities. We've been active in Blantyre, Malawi, and in other cities on the continent on a program-by-program relationship basis.
Encouraging interaction in action, Mbasi explains the strategy in Johannesburg.
At Africities in Johannesburg, we started with what we call project and solution-oriented Africities. So we send out a call to cities to ask them what are the 3 burning issues for which you wish to have solution at Africities. And we have received 42 cities that send us these questions, and we are now busy connecting the business sector with this question, so that at Africities exhibition you have B2B meetings to come out of these Africities with tangible and concrete solutions. And this will be an ongoing process for the coming Africities.
With high levels of poverty and unemployment crippling African economies, the issue of youth empowerment was high on the agenda.
I can assure you that even if you think local authorities are not concerned, no mayor is happy to see the young people jobless. No single mayor on this continent. And it's the more so when for national governments, the young people are dying across the Mediterranean, are just statistics. For the local authorities, there are funeral ceremonies. So the youth issue is a very important issue for local government. Where are the solutions? First of all, we need to rebuild self-esteem on this continent. Many youth are flying away, going away because they don't think they have any hope for their future on this continent. While we are seeing other people from other continent pouring in this continent because of our huge endowment in many aspect of nature and others. So it is very critical to rebuild this self-esteem. But this self-esteem will come when people think they are protected on this continent, that their human rights are protected, that they can start business that can fly. And local authorities manage 5 key functions that should be a way of providing jobs to the youth. You talk about food, this is very critical. We talk about building the city, this is very critical, and maintaining the city is very critical, servicing the city, and managing the city. All these functions are the functions of local government. So the local government should be at the core of job creation for youth. But then it means we should revisit the tendering system that we are having. We should have local preference. You know that national government don't allow that the tendering have a local preference. So this is a matter of discussion with our ministers.
The recent xenophobic violence in South Africa brought to light the sensitivities surrounding migration on the continent as its people search for better opportunities and freedoms.
For us, it's a shame that an African can be discriminated by another African. It's a total shame. We hope it will never happen again. And this is why at Africities, we will propose a charter on migration, so that people that agree on this charter, local government that agree on this charter, will make sure that migrants that are settling in their cities are not discriminated. And they will make sure that migrants from their city in the other cities are not discriminated. Xenophobia is not a behavior of Africa. Thank you.